My name is Elijah, and this story starts with a funeral. It was for my Uncle David. He wasn't young, but his death hit hard. He was kind, soft-spoken, always the first to show up with a meal when someone was hurting. And yet, even with all that, he was gone. I stood next to my dad by the grave as they lowered the casket. He didn't cry, neither did I, but I could feel the weight in the silence between us. On the way home, I asked him, "Why does death feel so wrong, even when we know it's coming?" He paused, then said, "Because it wasn't supposed to be like this." That night I went home and opened my Bible, not because I was trying to be spiritual, but because something inside me felt the need to, like my soul was asking a question my mind didn't know how to answer. I started reading from Genesis. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness." And I realized something. I'd always heard that verse growing up, but I never really understood it. God didn't create us as random life forms. He made us in His image. That means we were meant to reflect Him, to walk with Him, to live forever in peace, not just with God, but with each other, and even with creation. But then I kept reading, and I came to the part where everything changed. Adam and Eve. They had one rule, one tree, one line not to cross, and they crossed it. Not because they were starving, not because they didn't have enough, but because the serpent convinced them that what God gave wasn't enough. They wanted to be their own gods, and in that moment, sin entered the world, and so did death. I sat there thinking about how that same desire lives in me. I want control. I want things my way. I want to call the shots and then ask God to bless them after the fact. And every time I sin, every time I choose selfishness, pride, lust, or anger, I'm repeating what Adam and Eve did. I'm saying, God, I know better. That's why funerals feel wrong, because we weren't meant to bury people. We were meant to live forever. But sin broke that. And now even the best people die, even the kindest hearts fail, because sin doesn't care who you are. It stains everything. But here's what I didn't expect. As I kept reading through the Bible, I saw that God didn't walk away. Even after Adam and Eve messed up, God came looking for them. He called out, "Where are you?" He didn't destroy them. He clothed them. He covered their shame. And He promised something. A Savior would come, a Redeemer, someone who would crush the serpent and restore what was lost. And that's Jesus. Jesus came to live the perfect life we couldn't. He took the penalty we deserved, and then He beat death. So that one day we will too. We weren't made for pain, chaos, or death. We were made to live in peace with God, others, and creation. But sin broke that. And because of sin, death entered the story. But that's not the end. God didn't leave us in our brokenness. He stepped into it. Through Jesus, He made a way back to what we lost. So when you feel like something's wrong with this world, you're right, it is broken. But the story isn't over, because the same God who created us in His image is restoring that image in us, one heart at a time.